Hi, my name is Phil and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing flash and ambient blending in Photoshop. Can be quite a scary prospect, but I'm going to keep it really nice and simple. You can go into great detail with this, but for this example we're going to keep it nice and easy. So without further ado, let's have a look. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom and I've got three photos selected. We have the ambient shot, the flash shot, and a window repair shot for this example. So what I'm going to do first of all is just do my corrections initially on these. So the first one is the ambient shot, but I'm going to apply my preset to all three just by going here to my presets, and I'm going to use my neutral real estate preset. The reason it says neutral is because I use the neutral color profile rather than the Adobe color, which I highly recommend, but you can also browse and find a really good one for your particular camera, which will allow you to keep those annoying colors out and keep the nice neutral colors in. Okay, now that that's applied, let's go back to the first shot here, which is our ambient shot, and let's just make a little correction or two on here. So first of all, we're just going to increase the exposure a little bit here. Round about there is okay for me. And I'm also going to use the white balance selector in the ceiling, somewhere in the center there where there's not too much color cast, and just hit it there to correct those whites. I'm going to also do that with the second one, exactly the same. I'm going to increase the exposure on my flash shot so it matches on the histogram with the ambient. Let's click back and check that, and we can see that the histogram is showing that the exposure levels are approximately the same. We're also going to white balance correct that as well. The final shot here, as I said, is the repair layer, which is basically just a shot of the window, because if you see back here with the flash, from where I was stood shooting the flash, we do have some reflections coming into the window which we want to get rid of in Photoshop. So with the repair layer, I'm just going to increase again the exposure so that I match the exposure of the view with the exposure of the view from the flash shot. So roughly like that, looks good to me. Now I'm going to highlight all of these photos, right click, edit in, and then open as layers in Photoshop. Great, now let's just take a look at what we want to do and why we're doing this. As you can see now, the ambient layer is on top, which looks pretty decent, but obviously the exposure for the windows is a little bit high. And also we've got a few problems inside as well. Just here by the glass you can see there's a little bit too much glare coming off there. We've got a lot of color cast coming in. The walls are washed out and the lights are overexposed. We've also got some color cast coming in on the ceiling, some blue casts in here, and also some yellows around here. If we look at the flash, you can see the difference, the color of the wall. Let's just go back again, bring that ambient shot back in, and you can see how that ambient light has completely diffused the color and changed the color of the walls. Let's take that off again and look again. You can see it's blue. On here it's almost grey green. You can also see on the floor here so much more detail because there's no glare coming from the sun. If it was a little bit brighter outside, this is obviously a sunset shot, you would see much more glare on these wooden floors, and the flash will completely get rid of that for you, which is perfect. So the first thing we need to do before we start our blending is to align these layers. So let's select all three of them just by holding down Shift and clicking on the last one. And then we're going to hit Edit and go down to Auto Align Layers and then click OK. Obviously you're going to be using a tripod for this type of shoot, but even so, even when you're using a tripod, you're going to have a little issue now and then where you've touched a button or touched the leg of the tripod and it's knocked it slightly off. As you can see, once I press the shutter, maybe it's misaligned. You can see at the side where the little background is showing on the corners that there is some auto alignment. That has happened, which is great. So I know now that those are all perfectly aligned. So when we do our masking, we're not going to see shadows coming from unaligned photos. Now we're going to add a layer mask over the top of our ambient. So just make sure that your ambient layer is on top followed by your flash shot, followed by your repair layer. Then we're going to highlight the ambient layer at the top, and we're going to hide that by going down to Add Layer Mask. Hold the Option key down on your keyboard and then just click on Add Layer Mask. You should get a hide mask come up, or a black layer on that particular picture, which will cover it up. And now you can see that the ambient is not showing, only the flash layer from below is now showing. What we want to do now is paint in some of that ambient light. But before we do that, we need to change the blending mode. Currently it's set to normal. If we leave it at normal, then what you will get is everything coming from the layer below. What we need to do is change that to luminosity. This is because we do not want the color from the ambient layer to come through. We just want the light to come through, so we can make it look less flashy and more real with that ambient light that's come into the room. So with the luminosity blending mode selected, we can now brush in our ambient light. So I want to have a little bit of ambient light in these areas where you can see there has been some shadowing from the flash. So let's just go over that now. And there we can see some ambient light coming in. I'm going to paint a little bit more over this curtain here and on the ceiling. A little bit here. And some natural light coming in behind the bed. Some natural shadows coming from the lights. And also we need to address some of these shadows from the flash around here. Also like some of these natural shadows to come in from the outside as well, because obviously that's where the light source is. And just brush as much as you like. I'm also going to brush a little bit here, just to get rid of that flashiness that we've got on the walls. And a little bit here, where the reflection of the flash from the ceiling has made a hot spot. And that is it, basically. It's as simple as that. Now, just to show you the difference between the normal mode and the luminosity mode, we're just going to change it back now. And you can see when we click on normal now, we've got really horrible light coming in. We've got a lot of blue color cast over here, all sorts of different colors on the chairs, blue on the side here, blues on the walls, and it looks horrible. So make sure always to put on luminosity. Let's go back again, and you can see that there's no blue color cast up here, no blue coming in at the side, and everything looks pretty good. Okay, that's great. So there's just one more thing we need to address, and that's the reflections in the window. So what we can do is just bring that repair layer to the top, and again we can mask that by hitting the Option key and adding Add Layer Mask. Now when we paint over this window here, it will bring in the layer behind. As you can see, the reflection in the window now has gone. That's perfect. But if you've made a bit of an error painting over the chair or painting over something, then you can easily just hit the X button on your keypad, and that will change the foreground from white to black, which is back to hide. And now you can just paint over. Now if you're worried about going over into the windows again, don't worry too much, because you're on a very soft brush, and then that's done. If you prefer, you can always hit the 1 button and select the area before you paint, and then it will only paint in that particular spot, but no need in this example. Okay, good. So we've got rid of the reflections in the window. Take a step back and have a look at the photo and see what we think. So there's a couple of things that you can do here as well, just to get rid of some more of these reflections. I'm going to use the lasso tool here. So hit the L key, and then you can draw a line around the corners. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because we've got a nice soft brush. When you get to the end, don't worry about joining them up. Just hit twice on your mouse and they'll join themselves together. I'm going back to brush, so hit B. And now I'm just going to paint in around those areas, just to get rid of some of the reflections here. We can just deselect that when we're done by hitting Command D. And then maybe I can do that a little bit more on this area as well. So let's just grab the lasso again and just draw roughly around the area we need. Double click the mouse to join them up. hit B for your brush again, and then we can just paint over. It just brings back some of the detail in that window. Hit Command D to deselect, and then we've got this little window over here we can work with a little bit as well. I'm going to grab my lasso again and draw it around. As I said, I don't want to go over the bed here. You can just keep it inside the window. We've got a nice soft brush and the color difference is minimal. So if you go over it, it won't be noticed too much. Hit the brush and paint over. There we go. Command D to deselect. If you want to zoom out from your photo and do it nice and briskly, just hit Command 0 and that'll go to fill the screen. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I think we're done. I'm going to just merge those three together by highlighting them all, hit Merge Layer, and then I'm going to hit X or Command S, and we're going to save that photo. That'll bring back into Lightroom, and we can see our finished product. So now the final adjustments. What I'm going to do now is hit it with my bump, which is another preset, and then I'm going to also come in and just crop in where the background is showing, where it auto-aligned the layers. And once that's done, then we have our finished image. We can also just check again the white balance here in the ceiling. So I've just hit that and it's gone down -1 on the tint, so just a little change. But there is our finished product. Let me know what you think. Here's the comparison. We can see the flash image, and then we can see the ambient layer. So a big difference when you look at them side by side. And as I said, I think this is the best way to do things. This is a really quick example and probably quite an easy room to edit. I'll put these 3 photos in the description. You can download these yourself and have a play around and practice with them. And after a while, you'll get very, very quick at it. It may have seemed that it took a little while, but obviously I'm talking you through it at the same time. But it is, once you get used to it, the best way to do editing for interiors, especially high-end. No one will accept incorrect colors, color casts, reflections in windows, etc., etc. I hope that that was informative and not too complicated and you followed along okay. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to go into more detail with anything else. And please also subscribe to my channel so I can keep the videos coming for you guys. Thank you very much for watching. Check out the rest of the videos and I'll see you soon.